Scroll number 3. I have lived, and I begin again. Every day that ends and I have not squandered, that is a life completed, not a step toward living, not a rehearsal for the moment when things finally align. A life whole and finished, contained within those hours. Seneca understood this with a clarity that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. He wrote that every day should be regulated as if it were the one that rounds out and completes a life, not dramatized, not mourned, simply lived, fully, deliberately, without holding back for a tomorrow that is promised to no one. Most of us live as though the real living begins later, when the channel grows, when the revenue arrives, when the uncertainty lifts and the path becomes obvious. But Seneca saw this pattern clearly and refused it. He said, "Whoever has said, 'I have lived,' receives a windfall every day he gets up in the morning." The person who has genuinely inhabited their day does not wake anxious and grasping. They wake with something already in hand, a completed thing, a day that was theirs and that they used. I have lived, and I begin again. There is a man Seneca writes about named Pacuvius, who every evening held a kind of ceremony for himself, a toast, a moment of acknowledgement, a recognition that the day was done and he had been present for it, not because he was morbid, but because he understood what most people forget, that a day acknowledged is a day owned. A day passed through in distraction and postponement is a day that belongs to no one, least of all to the person who lived it. I want my days to belong to me. I want to arrive at the end of each one having actually been there. I have lived, and I begin again. The practice Seneca prescribes is not complicated, but it requires something most people are reluctant to give: attention, daily attention, not the anxious checking of metrics and responses, but the quiet, sustained act of showing up to this day as if it were the only one available, because in a real sense it is. Yesterday is closed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. This morning, this hour, this decision I am about to make, these are the only materials I actually have in my hands right now. I have lived, and I begin again. Seneca also teaches something that cuts deeper, that the life of wisdom is not reserved for some future version of me who has finished learning, resolved all doubts, and arrived at a state of permanent calm. That version never comes. What comes instead is today, with its specific difficulties and its specific opportunities, asking me to practice what I say I believe, not to perform it, not to plan it, to practice it now imperfectly, completely. The resolution I made yesterday is only as real as the action I take today. Making noble promises is not the same as keeping them. I keep mine today. Seneca does not soften this point. He says, "It is not as important to make noble resolutions as it is to keep the ones you have already made. I am good at intentions. I am good at the clean feeling of deciding. What requires more from me is the daily follow-through, when no one is watching and when the decision feels less exciting than it did the day I made it. I follow through today. That is the practice. I have lived, and I begin again." There is a second teaching that runs through these letters like a current under the surface, that nature's wants are small and opinions' wants are limitless. The anxiety I carry about not having enough, not enough views, not enough money, not enough recognition, not enough time, that anxiety does not come from reality. It comes from the gap between what I have and what I have convinced myself I must have before I can begin. Seneca puts it plainly: if you shape your life according to nature, you will never be poor. If according to people's opinions, you will never be rich, because opinion has no stopping point. There is always a larger number, a bigger audience, a higher level of approval that would finally make the feeling complete. But that feeling never comes from the outside. I have tested this enough times to know it, and I am done testing it. If the desire in me cannot come to rest at any point, if there is always something further away, then it is not a natural desire. It is a false one, and I am done chasing false ones. I have lived, and I begin again. What I have right now is enough to begin, not enough to finish everything, not enough to eliminate uncertainty, but enough to begin, and beginning is the only thing ever actually required of me today. The person who waits for complete safety before they start waits forever. Seneca says, "Prepare in times of peace for times of difficulty." The soldier does not wait for the battle to practice. He practices now while there is still room to make mistakes so that when the real moment arrives, he is not meeting it for the first time. I am that soldier. The daily scroll, the daily work, the daily choice to show up when it would be easier not to, this is my training. Not for some future battle. The training is the life. The practice is the point. I practice now. I do not wait for perfect conditions to live deliberately. I live deliberately under the conditions I have, which are the only conditions that have ever existed for anyone. I have lived, and I begin again. The day was mine. I was there for it. I did not spend it waiting for it to become something else, or watching it pass from behind the glass of distraction and postponement. I was in it. I worked in it. I chose in it. And that is the only record that matters. Not the numbers at the end of the day, but the quality of presence I brought to the hours while they were happening. This is what I carry forward. Not a plan for someday. Not a vision of who I will be when I have more. A single, clean commitment to the hours in front of me, to meet them awake, to use them honestly, to end them having been fully present for whatever they contained. And when this day closes, I will hold it the way Seneca held his, with the quiet satisfaction of a person who showed up. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but completely. Tomorrow, if it comes, I begin again with the same commitment. But I do not reach for tomorrow now. Now I am here. I have lived, and I begin again. I have lived, and I begin again. I have lived, and I begin again.